Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast, episode 41. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaren Will each and every week, and we're going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
It's just basketball.
we've got hometown hero. Well, for us, our hometown hero.
Yeah, our hometown, not his hometown.
Yeah. Um, we are, excited to be joined by probably the coach who's been, I guess, most open and helpful to us so far.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
mean,
fair to
I think
say?
he's been I'd say our biggest advocate
Mhm.
since like week 1,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. And that just feels nice. I mean, I guess it's coincidence that he's same city that we are. I think that was just
I'd say
pure
it's
coincidence.
destiny.
It's fair. But
It's
uh
destiny.
yeah, we were lucky to go to a Purdue Fort Wayne practice last year, meet with him. So we've met him before. We've been to a couple of games, and just uh Coach Coffman's just an incredible dude. And we are very excited. I guess we didn't really have any guests on during the season last year for the most part.
Yeah, we really, I mean, other than we had Paul Oren, but
Yeah. It's
yeah,
like a
no,
special thing.
yeah.
So glad to have him on though. So should we bring him in here? Let's bring Coach Kaufman in here and get this interview started. I'm excited. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's get to it.
All right, Coach Kaufman, welcome in. You're obviously the coach of the Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons, and we were talking, about you earlier, that you kind of have a special place in the state of basketball's, love, because you were the first coach who reached out to us, first coach who, kind of took notice to us and invited us into practice, let us see some things that when we started this podcast, we did not know if we were ever going to be able to see. So thank you for that. And we are so happy that we can finally have you on the podcast now.
Well, I appreciate you having me. And listen, access, like you guys got it with us. Anytime you want to, come to practice, be a part of what we do. I think that's what makes us special in our city. And at our level, that's what makes our level, the mid-major level, really special. And I'll share, I'll steal your thunder maybe and jump in and just like it was our casino night last year, and I got 500 people. It grew from like 50 people in my AD buying every auction item 10 years ago to where, we're making 6 digits. We're fundraising a huge level. It now is helping out and assisting with our NIL, and big room, like awesome setup at Fort Wayne Country Club. Like it is one of the events in Fort Wayne every year now. Well, I have everybody there. I'm getting ready to do my talk, and I'm trying to differentiate us to a lot of newcomers, all right, to Fort Wayne basketball. And I said, the difference with us is access. And I had everybody pull out their phone. And I said, we're going to play text roulette. You guys ever play text roulette?
I have not.
All right. Sure. So I'm going to give you, this is a great line if you're ever speaking to a group. So everybody pulls out their phone. And I have them plug in my phone. Well, okay, back up. So I have them raise their hand. Who's got Mike Woodson's phone number? A couple of them raise their hand. All right, who's got Matt Payne's phone number? A couple more raise their hand. And I said, who has Jon Coffman's cell number? And a few more. I mean, obviously it's our donor event. There ought to be a couple of those guys that have my number. And there's about 100 that raise their hand on that one. And I said, all right, well, today you're going to understand what's special about having, being a part of our program. You're going to get access to a Division I head coach's cell number when your son wants to sit on our bench. All right. Your daughter wants to come to camp. Your daughter wants to come to practice. You want to bring some people to the locker room after a big win. Access. You're going to have access to a Division I head coach. That is the difference with our program. And so I said, all right, here's the deal. We're going to all type in my number, but you can't press send, because here's the deal. The number 50 is going to get John Konchar's autographed Indiana win jersey. That's framed sitting right here. And here's the deal, is that for us to continue to build special, it's not about, one person texts me with the winner. It's that there's an interdependence. We got to work together. There's all this construction going on downtown, cranes everywhere, and the interdependence between us and our the basketball program in our city is that like they need our program to be successful so our university can be successful so we can supply the workforce for Fort Wayne because all this construction, like we got to work together. Same thing goes. We can't have a winner unless you have 49 people text before you. There's got to be an interdependence of 50 people texting. So I also promise them, I say, I will text everybody back. But as you text me, you got to text me a community group that you think we can help and that wants to come to a game and I can get them tickets. So guess how many texts I got? 420.
Oh my gosh.
That night. And I promised them all. So this is like November 4th. We open up 2 days later against DePaul on the road. And I got to return all these texts. So it did take me a week. All right. I didn't go right back to it, but I sent my text. So they all got access to it. I got all these ideas. We had people to the games because of this stuff, but access. And that's what I'm giving you guys. And again, anybody that watches this podcast, you see my Twitter handle at the bottom there. You reach out to me. You can come to our practices are open. Like I love people involved. I love giving back to the game. I want to continue to build college basketball. So that's my opener right there. You got access.
That's awesome. And I mean, that is really so true because that's something that Jaren and I talk about all the time just with this show is like, there are some coaches that like, are one, not as, active on social media as you are. Just like Mike Woodson, for example, like, I don't know if if he runs his own Twitter account. I don't really see him interacting with people on Twitter. So it's like, how do Jaren and I reach out to him? But then there's you who's, very active in the community. And you are like, willing to let us come in. And it's very like welcoming and, feels really good to have a program like that in our town where we live too.
I think that's something that gets paid forward to. And I've had some people who are really, really good to me. Matt Painter's an example in our state. I could call him right now and he'd pick up or he'd call me back tonight. And I think that makes the college basketball community stronger when we can share ideas. And we've gotten, not that they weren't competitive 30 years ago, but with recruiting, there's always this edge of okay, what protecting our your program and your ideas and what you're doing and this nursing and I miss kind of what 26 years ago I felt coming up through the program. I mean, through the industry. And I'm not willing to give that up and I want to give back. And it was cool. I got a call from the NCAA 2 days ago. I got invited to be, one of a dozen on the ethics committee. And I think this is a really special time to be a part of that. As you have things and trust me, like NIL and paying play, I think it's great what we're doing and the structure we're doing it. And I look forward to talking to you about that because I know there's probably a lot of people that, maybe their eyebrows, start wrinkling. I don't understand. This doesn't make sense. We're losing college basketball. Absolutely not. Like the players I'm recruiting, the people in my locker room, they're the same as they were 26 years ago. And people can say generation, yeah, we all change, but it's just like, hey, 20 years ago, we all have Blockbuster cards. Either you guys got Blockbuster card? Huh?
I had my brother's old Blockbuster card.
You do? Oh, I love it. I pulled this at a presentation. I was doing an NIL talk to some guy. This old man pulled out he actually had one in his wallet. It was a Seinfeld wallet too.
Oh my gosh.
It was awesome. He pulled that thing out. I'm like, man, you go to a chiropractor, you sit sideways because the wallet's so big, and so he pulls it out and I was like, this is classic. But, then all of a sudden you have Redbox. Well, I mean, who's been to a Redbox? Now you got Netflix, and now Netflix is old. You got who? I mean, I can't keep up with it, with all this stuff. Well, hey, change is inevitable. Embrace change. But if you can embrace change, but now keep your same cultural feel and keep who you are and your same purpose, like, man, that's awesome. And you can do it. And I love to, as we go through this podcast, you ask me some of those questions, I'll dive in, man. I'll give an open book. I think there's some cool things that we're doing in our program in our city right now.
Yeah, and we love that. That's been one of the cool things. We've had the opportunity to talk to Brooks Miller up at Trine about a month ago. We talked to new head coach Matthew Graves at Indiana State, and then Coach John Spruance at Southern Indiana, the assistant. And that's been one of the coolest things, right? Is them being open books, but also just, giving us a look behind the scenes and telling their story, because that's just, I think, is one of the beautiful things about the sport.
That's 3 coaches that are better than me. So no wonder you had those guys on. Awesome. Those are good guys.
Yeah, so we want to learn more about you, and obviously we want our listeners to learn more about you too. So let's kind of rewind. You've been at Purdue Fort Wayne, had a couple different names while you've been there, but you've been there for 11 seasons. And you were there as an assistant and then the head coach. So let's kind of talk about your coaching career. How did you what did it take? How did you get to Purdue Fort Wayne, and how did you become the head coach?
So funny story with that is, and I've been here, so 14 years when you include the 3 years as an assistant. This was starting my 11th year as a head coach. And it was a few years ago, and we'd had a nice year, and all the banter on Twitter and Instagram and all the stuff that goes out on coaches, coaching carousel, all that stuff. And somebody tweets at me and at a bunch of people and says, hey, people might not look at Jon Coffman because you look at his Wikipedia and he's just darting from job to job to job. And he posts my Wikipedia, and it says IPFW, Fort Wayne, PFW, or Purdue Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
And here I've had 3 different names, but 3 different universities, and never moved offices as you go through that. So I thought that was pretty humorous as you go through that. So I mean, my story, and God, you could get me going off on a tangent, all the people that I've stolen from and been a part of. And I'm just a product of a lot of good people, good coaches. But 28 years ago, so 96 is when I graduated college, and I was an economics major. I went out to San Francisco. I was an investment banker for 2 years. And failed at that. And to say what I was doing, I mean, I was working on spreadsheets, and I was more of I was such a do boy, whatever. I was early mornings, late nights, but doing very little real impactful work. But I was, setting the table for all the guys who are really powerful in that business. It was awesome. But I found myself, it's like March, and I'm watching, looking at USA Today, seeing what the brackets are going to look like, and all the guys next to me, and a bunch of Ivy League guys and girls, and they all play college sports. They love college athletes, and we're all sitting around, and they're diving into the Wall Street Journal, which I had to read to do my job, but it wasn't necessarily my passion. I got lucky. Our company got bought out by Invesco. And so we had money management firm, high net worth group, investment banking branch, all this stuff. And I was lucky they gave me a 6-month severance.
Oh.
And so at 24, I got a chance to kind of change life, and kind of figure out what I want to do. So like any guy that gets a little money in their pocket, I took off to Alaska with my fly rod, my mountain bike, and my skis for 2 months with the guy the smart guy in the cubicle next to me. So we had a blast. We had no agenda other we were going to go to Glacier Bay and take 2 sea kayaks out and tour for a week out on Glacier Bay. Now, I would never do that today. And there's a great bear story, 6 feet from an Alaska brown bear, that off the record, I'll tell you about that one. But we go to the next town. We'd show up at the local bar, have a pint, and be like, all right, what's cool to do here? And they're like, oh, you got a mountain bike here. Or, hey, you got we're in Fernie, British Columbia. Hey, you gotta fish the Elk River. And we just would bounce around and so I spent 2 months doing that. And as I did that stuff, and not necessarily finding myself, I had fun, but I realized, all right, I gotta get a real job. What do I want to do with a real job? And I decided I don't want a real job. I want to be a college basketball coach. And I haven't worked since then. And I sent out 400 resumes. That was still when you had paper and did all that stuff. And I ended up getting a D3 assistant's job at Emory and Henry College for Bob Johnson, who was a former Army Ranger, went to West Point. His dad was chief of staff for the Army during Vietnam. Had a picture of his dad in his office on the cover of Time magazine. I got a PhD in leadership. It was an unbelievable experience. So I was the lone assistant, all right, in Division III. You had no rules, so you could go out recruiting whenever you want. Put 100,000 miles on my Grand Cherokee that year with him, or those 2 years.
Wow.
All right, just miles, going, seeing people, seeing players. He forced me to network with his former assistant coaches. All right, which this is cool. So the three guys ahead of me, one after me, Jamie and Christian, who became a Division I head coach. He was after me at GW in the Mount. He's now a coach professionally overseas. You have Mike Young, who's the first one, who's now was a head coach at Wofford, now the head coach at Virginia Tech. You had Jimmy Allen, who was a head coach at Army West Point, and you had Nathan Davis, who is a head coach at Bucknell and now New Hampshire. It went 5 of 6 coaches in a row were us, 5 Division I head coaches.
Wow.
And they did an article, CBS Sports and stuff, cool stuff. Well, there was something special about this guy. Like, he taught us how to network. He was unbelievable leadership. And there would be days I'd walk into the office and he'd hand me a book. Might be politics, might be basketball, might be leadership. And he'd say, hey, listen, drop everything you're doing. I need you to read this. I mean, 250 pages. You'd be like, you're scared of him. Like, I mean, there's rumors you'd walk through the cafeteria and everybody'd hide their spoons because there were rumors that Army Ranger, he could kill a man 6 ways with a spoon. Like I was scared, but respect.
Yeah.
And he'd give me this book and be like, read it. We're going to go have pints of Foster's up on the back deck, smoke a cigar, and we're going to talk about this book. It was leadership, politics, maybe basketball. Like, it was awesome. 2 years. It was unbelievable experience. Well, then I would go from there to college at Charleston, who I worked for John Kress, who never when he became a Division I head coach, so he went from NAI maybe Georgia Tech was an NAI coach. All right. To then Division I head coach. He never didn't win the regular season title. How about that?
Wow.
And you can look at he won like 87% of his games at home. Unbelievable record. And just the most organized coach I've ever been around. And then I go from there to Derek Waugh at Stetson, who played high school basketball with me, went to law school out of high school. We both played at a kind of a powerhouse sports school in Atlanta, Mare School. I had an NBA player, Matt Harpring, on my team. I had 2 NFL players on my high school basketball team. And then I had 9 of the 13 guys that ended up going on to play college basketball. Like, that's a pretty good kind of group of dudes out there. We didn't lose a high school football game the 5 years I was there. Baseball, we were ranked in the ESPN top 20 my junior and senior year. Like, it was a cool setup in school. I had a bunch of the Hawks, like Mike Fratello's kids went to school with me, Bobby Kremen's kids. So this sports jug. Well, Derek went to Furman, went to law school at Wake Forest, and then decided after practicing law, didn't like it, kind of like me, but he was a year or 2 ahead of me. Goes and starts coaching, ends up getting the Stetson job at youngest Division I head coach in the country. I leave Charleston, which was a little bit crazy. Charleston's greatest job in America, all right, other than Purdue Fort Wayne. All right. I go to Stetson down in Florida. I spent 8 years with him. Great experience working with one of my best friends, young coach, taking my experience, applying it. He gave me a ton of responsibility. And then after 8 years, I meet my wife there, who's a college coach. She was coaching Stetson, then went to UCF, and special situation there, obviously. 2 coaches. I mean, we've now got almost 50 years of coaching together between our 2 experiences. And then I go to Colgate, work for Emmett Davis, the all-time leading winner up there and wins. Great experience. Was at Navy back with David Robinson. Great experience. Really organized. Won a ton of games. That is unbelievable recruiting experience because you have the AI. So it's your academic index. So you don't look at a kid unless you know his academics, and you're calling kids from California to Washington State to Denver to New York to Florida. Great. The connections I made there. And then from there, went to Purdue Fort Wayne, got closer to my wife's family in Ohio, was an assistant for Tony Jasic for 3 years. And we had a really nice run during those 3 years. And I was lucky enough to, get a head coaching job, which I've now been there for 11 years, and just unbelievable experience. And Fort Wayne is really, really a special place. Cool. I got to take a breath now. I just gave my history in 4 minutes.
I feel like Jaren and I talk about this is whenever we have a coach on, there's always some story about how they ended up where they ended up through something weird. And like, who was it? Coach Sprue was saying he like went to Hawaii, like got a notification, like an email. It was like, yeah, be in Hawaii basically like in 2 days to be like a videographer for the team. And so everyone has like some crazy stories. So you going out working out in San Francisco and then just getting a 6 month severance, going to Alaska for 2 months. That's awesome.
So I went from I'm the one guy in the country that chose to go from like a 6 digits to a 4 digits. All right. So like that, I made $5,000 my year at Emory and Henry.
Wow.
How crazy is that? Like that was my salary. That didn't include housing.
Oh my
Didn't
gosh.
include food.
Wow.
Like now my head coach took care of me. I
Yeah.
figured it out. And then I took a pay cut to be a Division I assistant coach at College of Charleston. But
What?
they gave me an apartment and a meal card as I did that. And then I mean the other cool part, and it was unfortunate. Like we'd had a ton of success like at Colgate. Now last year had some injuries. We got let go.
Mhm.
And so I went from an unemployed coach to 3 years later, one of 362. Like it's amazing how things in this industry can turn.
Mhm.
And that was, we all get our stories, all get part of your edge. I still remember my wife they're throwing out the first pitch in Florida with her team. She was the head coach at Hamilton College and throwing out the first pitch. And I got a call and say, hey, I was on a recruiting trip. And it was spring break for our school. We just gotten let go. That's part of the business. It's unfortunate. Don't agree with some choices with where that is, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like I'm having to call her, and one of my other assistants, his wife is her trainer. So like she's gonna find out one way or the other. She's got my 2-year-old down there with her, sitting in the dugout with his helmet on, and I got to tell her what's going on. And so it's great, and she's pregnant with Lucy. So like we are unemployed in Hamilton, New York, and have to figure out the next job. And she's pregnant and has to leave her great coaching job as Division III head coach, loves it, and then figure it all out. And then we find ourselves in this great city, unbelievable friends. I mean, I'm going to end up being one of the few coaches probably ever at the Division I level to have their, son, daughter go to preschool, elementary
Mm.
school, middle school, and high school. And my contract goes through. Last time I said, hey, when we had contract extension, I said, hey, just get my son through high school. They did it. All right. Then I
That's
said, get
awesome.
my daughter 3 years old. They did it. We're through 30. Like that's pretty cool. Like they appreciate what we're
Yeah.
doing here in Fort Wayne. And we couldn't have done it with our community. Our community has invested so much. Like when we were in the Summit League and our budgets were this, like our city going out, you give them access, and they've raised us here. It's really cool what's happened.
Yeah, and I love that about Purdue Fort Wayne, right? Like it is people, a lot of people don't realize, these people in the city don't realize it is a Division I school, but it's a great campus. It's condensed, which is great. It's not a massive Division I school. It's got that allure to like bring in, players who maybe don't want to go to a big school, but want to play Division I basketball or Division I any sport, right?
Well, they all do want to go to that Power Five. They all do.
Yeah.
And what's happened is we found diamonds in the rough. We work really hard to find skill sets that fit with our style.
Mhm.
And I mean, you're looking at me. I'm not very sexy, so I had to figure out a sexy style. And so, like when I became the head coach, and I'm like, all right, people haven't really heard of IPFW back in the day. How do we continue to raise our brand? Well, the first thing is you got to get players.
Yep.
And like if you're going to go try and beat somebody 42-40, nobody cares in Fort Wayne or the Midwest. If you're IPFW and you're beating somebody 42-40, they just don't, and yeah, it's nice you went, but like you better create a style that's going to be attractive to your fan base. All right. And your players. All right. And then, you better win some too as we go through that. And so we've been playing fast. We shoot the three. And if you look at over the last decade, so since I've been the head coach, we're number 16 in the country in scoring. 10-year period. multiple generations, not just including when Jon Coffman, who's in the NBA, was on our roster. Like, we're talking multiple generations of players have come through and been part of that decade. And then we're number 3 in 3-point field goals made, number 13 in 3-point field goal percentage, number 10 in effective field goal percentage, top 20 in field goal percentage. And there's only one school in the Horizon League that's won more than us over the last decade and had 9 winning seasons in the last decade. So, like, it's really cool we've been able to do it. And it started with me not being sexy. So who would ever say that, you know? And I figured out a way to make our program sexy by our style of play, and our fan base is growing, and the things you talk about, man. Hey, there were 285 million people that got access to us when we beat Indiana in the Coliseum, 12,600 people there. And then we turn around the next year and beat them at their place by 20. And then we won the Summit League, won the Horizon League, and things are happening. It's an exciting time to be a basketball fan, a Purdue Fort Wayne fan in Fort Wayne. And I love that you two are fans. All right. I got you two excited about the Dons.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we, over the last 2 years, I think we've gone to a handful of games, and it's been an incredible experience. I think both the games I saw were in the Gates Center, and it was just, you based on everything that happens, the experience, the video board, the fan engagement there, it's incredible. So anyone
and it's
that's listening,
it is growing. Like, my vision, like, there's no reason we shouldn't sell out the lower bowl of the Coliseum every game. And this year, all of our non-D1 game is going to be at the Coliseum, and there's no reason. All right, because of the success and how good our players are. I mean, we've had 24 pros in the last 14 years. I got 5 guys drafted in the G League. I got 1 in the NBA. The rest of the guys overseas killing it. It is really good basketball. And I love, man, when you flip on college basketball, and there's all sorts of great stories, but I'll be honest with you, some of it I can't watch. I can't watch dribble. I can't do it. And then a bunch of spacers in the corner, then they throw it right back to point guard. He dribbles again until he gets stopped, then they throw it back. Just not my thing. And people win different ways, and I'll take a win 42-40, but like, I couldn't watch the video I watch every day to get our team to the level we got to be if we were scoring the point. Like, I like to score the ball. I like offense. I like going now. 2 of the last 3 years, we've had the best defensive efficiency in our league. I like that too. Damian Chanqui taught me that. Picked up the ball. We changed what we did defensively. We've become really good defensively. But, man, scoring the basketball is who we're about. It's a fun style. The ball gets happy, moves from side to side. So hopefully we'll get some more people, and one person at a time. Like, everybody, I have people, complain to me in the city. I was, man, why don't they come out? Why don't we get more people? I'm like, hey, just one person at a time. Share your positive experience with the Dons, and it'll continue to go. Nothing happens quickly. We all want to, but nothing happens quick enough. Not for me either. But, man, it's happening as we grow, and it comes from having good people like you guys hanging out in our gym and pubbing the Dons. So I appreciate it. All right, are we going to get to any of those questions? We haven't even an introduction. I like it. We might. What's the world's record for longest podcast? Let's go for it tonight.
But it's all good stuff. This is the stuff that people want to hear. This is stuff that you don't know just by turning on, ESPN Plus and turning the game on. But yeah, Jaren's got a question for you. So we have a good question coming up.
Yeah. So you talk about that, your style of play, right? You have to find something appealing because you said it yourself. These are not my words; they're yours. You're not sexy, but you found a sexy style of play, right? So last season you didn't return a single starter from the previous year. This year you returned 4 of 5 starters, 4 of 5. How does that experience, going from, okay, we got to find 5 guys they're going to start on the court every game.
So in my 11 years, really in my 14 years, we've never graduated every starter. Okay? And when you hear that story with your presentation, it sounds like, transfer portal just attacked us. That is not the case. And I love with that. So our group that won the league in 22, we had 4 of those 5 guys back in 23. And then that year they all graduated. So I got all those guys back. And that included, Jared Godfrey, who's now our all-time leading scorer, who had, 9 Power 5 offers, all 6 digits. And he's like, Coach, I'm coming back. Well, why is he coming back? Well, we had a 30-minute conversation. He, his mom, I, and it's like, coming back? Yeah, of course we're coming back. Even though he was getting all of these people reaching out. And he's like, well, look, I played with Jon, hey, the NBA told Jon, Kentucky, North Carolina, all these people reaching out. And, we talked to NBA GMs and, these guys at 17 telling me, don't let them transfer. That is not right. And we told, they said, don't go be a rented player. Like, style of play fits you. You get high volume with this. Like, you're freakish statistically. I mean, Jon ended up becoming the only player in the history of college basketball to score 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 500 assists, 250 steals. And if you drop down to 400 assists and less steals, you end up with like 5 guys. It's like, and this got posted on Big Ten Network. Like, it was like when Ethan Happ reached Jon's stats, and it was like Larry Bird, Stacey Augmon, Oscar Robertson, and there's one more, great in that mix. And so, you're able to do that with our style, which was pretty cool. So anyway, Jon ends up coming back. Well, before Jon, it was Max Landis. So Max Landis was getting, and there's, people reaching out illegally through that. You know how all that happens. Well, yeah. Jon, he's getting reached out going into a senior year, and they were both grad transfer eligible. Okay. And so Max is coming back to us, and he ends up coming back, and he becomes the player of the year in the Summit League. Ends up going from 7th man at Gardner-Webb when he transferred to then being player of the year, first team all league, 4 NBA workouts. So he paid it forward. And then you had Conchar pays it forward. And then Jared Godfrey, all right, he ends up then paying that forward. And then this group sees that and they're like, man, these guys are getting to the highest level. And then the other piece is like, and we'll go further into what we do in the summer, but like that caring for, I think my staff and my crazy do it at a really, really high level. And when we talk about my crazy, I mean, some of the guys, they call it Coach, it's Camp Coffman in the summer, to where, I mean, we do ballroom dancing, we do dining etiquette, we do 3 golf lessons, all about getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. Also life skills, golf lessons, dining etiquette, personal finance. We also have our guys meeting with a financial advisor so that NIL, they're now setting up accounts with Invesco and certain things like that. And like, we just try to look at this and how do we help our guys network, create, a situation where they get to skip the first job to get the second job. All right. To where they get to, skip the job serving the coffee and get the job receiving the coffee in that meeting. And they do that by networking. And so we're engaged with our community. And so all that caring for in the summers, all that time we're spending with them, all that player development has really helped these guys come back, I believe, And so the other part is like, we're winning. It's going to be hard to retain players if you're not winning. Our guys are playing fast, or putting up stats, or getting to the next level, 24 pros in the last 14 years. And they have guys that paid it forward and had good experiences. So that led to, so we got nobody coming back. All right. But our 6th, 7th, 8th man had bided their time, and we brought in a couple transfers, a couple freshmen, and they just rose to the level. My staff did an incredible job recruiting. All right. And we did an incredible job as a collective group. Older guys, returners, and new guys coming in with that summer development of getting those guys to understand how to play read and react, how to play fast motion at a high level early in their tenure. We have the best start in school history. We're 13-1.
Yeah.
Win 23 games. End up, unfortunately, losing to Oakland in the conference tournament. And I actually liked our draw. And Oakland goes on to beat, they beat Kentucky. They lose at the buzzer, where I just listened to a podcast where, Campy, who's a good friend of mine's, talking about, calling a timeout, not calling a timeout. They can't get to the play to get their best player, their shot. But, they're almost in the Sweet 16. Well, we had those guys. We were leading by 31 at Oakland in December. All right. And with 8 minutes left. This is a team that won a game in the tournament, almost made the Sweet 16. We won the game by 21 at Oakland. and so that's how good this group was. And we did it with all these newcomers. And then this next offseason, NIL played a part, our community played a part, but it was probably most like as you shrink that gap in the margins from what, highest bidders have out there and guys wanting to stay, like it's that relationship. It's all that craziness. It's relationships with parents. It's guys getting the highest level. Our guys are basketball junkies. They see what we're doing, what we've done in the past. They want to win a league championship. They want Fort Wayne to go nuts when we make our first NCAA tournament. And we got 7 of our top 8 scorers returning, with only Anthony Roberts, who is signed a contract in First Division Germany to play overseas, and has an out. He still is getting talked to by G League teams. May get some guaranteed with that. I mean, it's really cool what's happened. So, the other thing is like, hey, this summer, Jared Godfrey spent a month with us. Bobby Planuta spent a month with us. They came back. They want to be in Fort Wayne. We train them all summer long. They're working out with our guys. They're telling the old stories. David Simon, who graduated in 2005, has been playing pro ball since 2005. He came back, trained with us in the summer, hung out in Fort Wayne, telling stories, about how to, be a pro, meaning stack details to stay a professional over all these years since 2005. Like all these people are giving back. And so that's where we got to where we are right now. And, they have us projected to be pretty good this year. I think we'll have a really nice team. Where that sits out in league standings, some people are picking us at the top of the league. Like that's awesome. Doesn't mean anything. You got to win the games, but it's pretty cool. I mean, the two years we were picked 7th in the league in the preseason and we won the league, won the Summer League, won the Horizon League. So that's pretty cool too. But hey, I wouldn't mind going after it as a top seed team in the league too, going into it. And it's because we got really good players and guys that want to be a part of what we built coming back. So that's cool. I appreciate you drawing attention to that.
Yeah. So we'll talk about kind of the bonding and the community aspect of it in a second, but do you feel like, obviously you get time on the court with the players. Do you feel like the team with returning so much production is farther along where you want them to be on the court compared to last season, or how does that kind of compare?
Definitely compared to last season. Definitely compared to last season. But, last season, my edge in the summer was we had all those guys returning off a championship year. And there was a reason, like we were missing, some critical pieces. I mean, Jalen Pipkins was an elite defender and a go-getter at the end of the bat. And we missed him the next year. So there's other basketball reasons. It wasn't just a mentality, but that year we had those guys returning. I tried to adjust what I did from them. I mean, we went to Europe that summer. I was worried a little bit about some of those guys were 6th, 7th year guys in our program, like Jared Godfrey and Rob Petty, and like getting bored of my voice. And so I maybe didn't push them as hard. I mean, we still did a ton of basketball. They knew everything. They knew what I was going to say before I said it. Then the next year comes and we got all these newcomers, and we weren't as good as I thought we should have been the year before. We were really good, but just not as good as I want to win the championship. I thought we had more in us, and all those guys did too. But so we came back last year, and I mean, it was a great edge, great work. I mean, we played more live last summer than we ever had in my tenure. And I've always kind of gone on something like, hey, don't let the worst thing happen either. Like you got 6 months of live play once September comes. Don't wear their legs out and over usage and all that stuff. And so I didn't know who was going to be our top 5. I didn't know anything. So we went after it. And we went after it with our mental performance coach, with our what we call our training camp. I mean, you probably saw our sunrise workouts in the morning. We would do a mental session on Monday. So it was on the grease board. Our sports psych mental performance coach come in. He would teach a skill, a mental lesson. Wednesday that week, we get a podcast from something challenging that skill, tying it together. Our guys would have to respond. They'd have to think critically about what we're learning. And then Friday at sunrise, we would have that skill tested, and it would be tested trying to create a shared experience with a team that didn't have a ton of experience, and a shared experience like of mental toughness and physicality. Like at sunrise, sometimes maybe it was, the lap bars with, 250 pounds going back and forth on a football field. And we had, a mental challenge of timing and not knowing, to where we're pushing SUVs, to where we did anyway, I could go on and on about the training camp stuff. It was awesome for that group. All right. And it paid for it. And we had those shared experiences because we didn't have playing experience. Well, then repeat this year, our guys had that. Okay. I chose not to worry about overdoing it here. Okay. Is that the right decision? Not only time will tell. Right. We were aggressive this summer. And if you watch on social media, I bet you guys are thinking, man, coach, you better get some family time. And I did. I figured that out. All right. But that lake house didn't get a lot of use this summer.
Right.
We had an awesome summer as a team. We really challenged them. We were really aggressive on the court. Now, we do have 5 newcomers with this group. Unfortunately, I lost a couple freshmen last year because we had these all-league players coming back, and they won't play. It's an unfortunate part of what it is. And these were really good players. I was pleading with them, come back. Like, you're a part of our future. That's the hard part with where we're at in college basketball now. But, our impact guys that impact last year all came back. Well, so we got a couple other guys that I think are even raise us another level. And we did lose Anthony Roberts, who's really good. We're trying to get those guys up to speed. That's a challenge. And so we break up. So we're advancing our returners, but then also getting these newcomers up to speed with read and react. We played a lot of live. We were aggressive with them this summer. Thought it was a great summer. So it was different than when we had an experienced group 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure. And, one piece about that like we saw a lot on social media. So obviously every team puts out stuff on social media, what they're doing in the summer. And, it's usually a lot of footage of what they're doing in practice. You get to see some clips and be like, oh, this guy looks like he's, shooting better from 3 or whatever. But a lot of the stuff that we saw from you, we really liked because it was a lot of community service stuff. You had your camps, you had, people spending time with the youth in Fort Wayne. So kind of what is like your motivation for doing so much of that with your team?
Well, nothing's changed from the day I became the head coach here. We want to be Fort Wayne's team. Okay. And we believe that, we have, a platform that we can help the community, and particularly where we have value is in the youth programs in our city. And so we've always done. We had, we've had for years Coaches versus Cancer clinic at the field house, and we'd invite the Mad Ants, St. Francis, Indiana Tech, and our players, and we would do it for awareness and raising some money. We've worked with Big Brothers Big Sisters Real Men Read program, 3rd grade reading all year long for years, and then we've been kind of the muscle in a lot of community service around Fort Wayne over the years. And probably not more than other people, but we've had a passion about what we've done. We've always been involved in the community. Now where I thought the last kind of 2 to 3 years where the transformation of college basketball has changed a little bit. You have NIL, and think about this. This is an interesting perspective. Okay. So 3 years ago, all right. And Fort Wayne, I'm probably two people removed from knowing everybody in our city, and we're 350,000 people. Like, I've been here, we've won games. I'm active in the community. Like, you get connected, and I could call this guy, he knows this girl. And then next thing you know, I'm linked up and I can connect. Well, our players 3 years ago could not go to breakfast, lunch, or dinner with a donor seasons ticket holder and talk to them about what they want to do after basketball is over. So network, right? They couldn't network and have that person buy them a meal. Crazy, right? Well, that's why we're at this world we're at, is NCAA was not fluid enough. And when I say NCAA, the presidents are all, that's who the NCAA is. It's not some evil group over here. Like, they're just doing what our presidents are worried about their universities, not, college athlete. And it's slow. It's not fluid. And we're working through this. It's taking time. Well, it doesn't quite happen quick enough. So then, the California legislators and things happen. And it's like, man, we got COVID, you got extra year, you got, you got immediate eligibility because people are filing lawsuits, and then you got NIL, and it's the wild, wild west. It's crazy. Right. And so there's a lot of people pulling their hair out, and me too. I'm pulling my hair out. How can I do what I love doing, have purpose, help my players become generational leaders when they get done. How do I help them skip that first job to get the second job? And how do I help keep community pride and win games? Well, that's where I said, well, the first thing is keep your players happy, keep investing in the people, all right, that are playing for you. Like that's number one. Take care of your people. Well, so every one of my players, I give them a community mentor. Okay. And not like it's not necessarily that person's going to put their arm around them and be like, hey, here's how life works. Like, I got some great parents in my family. My staff does. The people have struggles. We mentor them through that. But this was more on the side of how do we connect our players and teach them how to network in our city. So each mentor has breakfast, lunch, or dinner once a month with them, with the goal, they may skip a month. We're realistic. Hopefully 8 a year, maybe 8 to 12 a year. And they are challenged to bring one new person to that meal the next month that either can help connect them with somebody that they're interested in doing, like career-wise, or just they're a city influencer, that can be a connector. So I'm hoping that my players get connected within our city so that they can skip that first job down the road. Okay. Investing in our players network. Also, I brought in Anthony Giuliano. He's become a really, really good friend. And he's come in and he works for a marketing firm, Asher Agency, and he does 3 seminars that he and I put together on networking, NIL game planning, but it's more like, all right, here's how NIL works, but it's more about networking. Like, how do you connect and create? All my guys get hooked up on LinkedIn. He talks about the value of LinkedIn, how you use it, how you connect to alumni, how you connect with the city. And then we send them to career services. They get hooked up on LinkedIn. And then we help them research the person they're going to have dinner with or lunch with or breakfast with, and how to ask the questions, how to research the questions, and how to follow up. And so now we're teaching our guys how to network. That's what Bob Johnson did to me 26 years ago when I was an assistant at Emory and Henry, and then end up at College of Charleston, end up at Stetson, end up at Colgate, and now end up at IPFW. It's all that. It's networking. All right. And so that was cool. So what that actually did, though, it's helping our guys who are our biggest salespeople connect to the community. And next thing you know, 2 years later, our camp has been kind of stuck at that 150. We had 277 people at camp this summer.
Wow.
It blew up. Team camp, we're at over 90 teams. So the word is growing, and it's booming from that side. This spring, I recognize, all right, hey, next level up. And we tried last fall. We're like, we got to get our collective going, Don's for Fort Wayne. We got it all established. I went out and I did a big fundraiser at Ruth Chris, and I was phenomenal, if I tell myself that. All right. Like, I was great in that talk, getting people passionate about our program, but I'm trying to explain to a group of 100, people in our community what NIL is, and they're scratching their head like they couldn't quite digest it. All right. Doesn't mean it's not real. Well, this year, a year later, it's digesting, and I've figured out how to make it sustainable and how to give back to our city. And I had 28 meetings of 1 to 8 people in dinners from March, the second our season ended, all the way through the start of June. Okay. And just barnstorming, talking about our program, NIL, and what we're doing with NIL. And I think this is really cool, particularly if you're mid-major program. Okay. Is that everyone who donates to our collective, which, yes, we're creating stipends and we are paying every one of our players something. All right. Different guys at different tiers and all that stuff. But here's what's phenomenal about it, is that they have to do community engagement, community service with that. Okay. And so, our guys have always done that, but now I'm demanding more of them. Okay. And what's happened is we've created, what are our guys valuable for in our community? Community pride, winning. Well, okay, giving some money to this so we can keep good players. That's productive, but that's not going to get people opening their pockets in sustainability. What's sustainable is businesses partnering with Purdue Fort Wayne, the Mastodons, doing community service where they have value in our community. So Boys and Girls Club, the Renaissance Point YMCA, I really got connected with their leadership, and I said, give me programming, okay, that you think fits with our guys. Here's what I'm trying to do. They jumped on board. We created programming. And then I went to the community and said, here's what we're going to do. And people bought into it. They're like, man, that's awesome. Like, we want you guys to be successful, but what you're doing in the community, what your vision for is phenomenal. We did 300 hours between YMCA youth program and Boys and Girls Club this summer in 8 weeks, 3 days a week. We had 3 players at each of the organizations helping youth programs Monday, Wednesday, Friday, giving back to the kids, being impactful with them. Sometimes working on, business plan projects that they're doing with part of their youth program, sometimes playing kickball, sometimes playing basketball, sometimes taking the kids swimming, sometimes just hanging out on the side. And when our kids would walk in there, like, you would just see flocks of these kids running to them. Our camp, we donated 100 scholarships to underprivileged kids in our community from these different organizations that came in and were a part of this. And so giving back to the community, what I'm envisioning is, one, we want to be successful. We want to win games. We understand the NIL. I believe in this. Okay. What we're doing. Like, these guys, they are working their tail off for our city, for our school, like, and putting them in a position there with where college basketball. I believe in this. Okay. But I really believe now that I can really not work them, but put them to work, building them up as future philanthropists. Okay. That's what we're trying to do. It's just next level up of their development. And so I think that's cool. I think we're sustainable what we're doing. It has been awesome. And I've always done a great job connecting our community and fundraising, because we've had to take our teams to Italy a couple years ago, and Portugal and Spain 2 years ago. And what we do with our recruiting budgets, our locker, all this stuff, we've always fundraised. But now, like, if you want, it's either sink or swim with the NIL. And that's where, man, I think we got it right. We're teaching future philanthropists. We're leveraging our guys to give back to our community, and they're learning to be philanthropists, and they're doing what they love. They love this. I didn't have all those hours. Not a single player said, "Hey, this is too much." They look forward to doing that stuff. So anyway, that's kind of my story of what we've done with NIL. And I hope some other people jump on board, because, maybe it levels out the playing field of basketball, because maybe I'm on the front end of how I figured it out in our city. But if that's what happens, it happens. But I just made their cities better, because our city is better for what NIL has done in our program and how we're giving back, and, leveraging that and partnering with businesses to do community service on their behalf. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, that it really is incredible what you and the team are able to do for the city. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about, scheduling, right? Off season every year. One of the big things I imagine you have to do is schedule games. Was it hard to find quality games, since you have such an experienced team? I know you play Michigan, Penn State, Central Florida. I think you play Texas A&M Commerce again. What is that like from an
Man,
off-season perspective?
you're good. You're following the Dons, because our schedule has not been released. You're following by other.
I had to dig and make sure I had everything.
I got
everything
you.
on
Google,
track.
man, it'll help you. So you're exactly right. It was super challenging. And it's honestly, it's at a point too where I thought about on some of these, scheduling chat lines that we try to kind of see who's available and whatnot.
Mhm.
I threw it out there. I'm trying to get, like, I was like, hey, we'll pay a guarantee for a Power 5 team to come here. And I put it out there. I called Power 5 teams and said, hey, we'll pay you a guarantee to come to the Coliseum, and trying to go that route. Now, I was careful not to actually put it on the chat line, because I was like, okay, don't be too crafty on this, because you still have to get some buy games to help the budget. And if they think you're so positive about your team, you got no chance of getting those games, because you're right. It was hard to get games this year. And here's what's interesting. So basketball, everything is analytics now. Okay. And, we have, the net, they won't disclose the net formula. Okay. We figured out the RPI
right
for years, but what's happening is like, you have all these analytics companies grinding the numbers of what teams did and figuring out what they think the formula is. for the net. So we kind of do know what the net is all
Right.
about. And so the net right now, it gives value to beating a bottom 30 team by 30,
Yeah.
more so than playing a 150 team and beating them by 5.
Right.
So your strength of schedule, not really, doesn't really, like strength schedule doesn't really matter. It's all about, your quads now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So yes, there is value in playing a quad 1 team, which is a powerful team.
Yeah.
That's a really good team, but it's not the strength of it overall. It's quad 1 opponents. So you get points for the quad
Yeah.
ones. All right. But so everybody wants to. So the top teams, they want to play quad 1s, particularly quad 1s on neutral sites. Okay. And then you want to play quad 4s, but the most winnable quad 4s. So if you're at quad 4s on the road, like you're playing a 240 team, that's a
Mhm.
quad 4, 240 net. Those teams aren't very attractive because you
Right.
want the most winnable. So you really want the teams that are, 300 to 360.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is when I knew it was bad. So it's in like March, April, May, and May, June, like whatever. We call UConn. We're calling everybody.
Mhm.
We called UConn and said, hey, we'll come there any date. We're wide open, no game scheduled. We'll play you. Hey, yes, a guarantee, but doesn't, we're not begging for the most money. And they said, Coach, we're only playing bottom 30. And they don't need you.
Right.
They beat us by 75. Last year's team would beat us by 100. And my team's
Yeah.
good. They're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This last Purdue. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Seriously.
they're really, really good. Okay. But that's what they're like, hey, we're playing the analytics. I sat next to Bruce Pearl recruiting us, and I was like, hey, man, you've always played, the power mid majors. What's going on? What is that? And he said, well, they're slowing down because people are scheduling NIL games.
Mm.
Okay? Like the one in Vegas that's going
Yeah.
on. We're figuring all this out.
Yeah.
So they're holding on to games later, or they're trying to get neutral site games for net. Because really in college basketball, nobody really wants to play anybody.
Yeah.
That, right? We all want to get wins, right?
Yeah.
But then you also got to get net, so you get your at-larges and all that sort of stuff. So that's what they're all doing. So people are waiting on those games, trying to get neutral site, and it takes time. So they're not as concerned with the guarantee games or the mid majors that they would play, and they'd pay us and we wouldn't return. That's a guarantee game, right? So we're struggling to get any games. So I'm starting to look at, man, I gotta have that conversation with my AD. Wait, we're not going to make our budget.
Right.
We're not raising the money, because and we're used to, about every other year we're getting $100,000 game and we're winning it,
Yeah.
or 90, 80, something like that, and winning some of those. So
Yeah.
now it's really like, why would these people do that?
That's what I was gonna say. You ever think that maybe, you guys have the conversation that maybe we've just won too much? Last year you go to DePaul, win, you end up bringing, IU to Fort Wayne, and then you beat them, and then you beat them in the return game too. So people probably, maybe people look at that and say, "No, that coach is still there. He's the guy that
No, and we've done it.
knocks some people off."
Some of the Missouri Valleys over the years. Bradley back in the day, Missouri State back in the day, like they paid us money to come in so they don't have to return the game. And
Yeah.
they got a certain date, and I'm sure they didn't necessarily want to play us, but they played us and we got a win and a big check. I keep waiting one of those years that I get to take, the big check.
Yeah.
But I gotta be careful because, like one day I may be in that spot, or we may, hey, we'll pay the NAI team $1,000. And so like, they're going to walk out with that big check one of these years. We don't take care of business, but no, it's cool. Those games are awesome for us. It's awesome for our fan base. And obviously that's how you fund kind of part of college basketball. It's not necessarily, you can't play 6 or 7 of those games, but a handful of those games, and you get on Big Ten Network, or you get on Pac-12 Network, not anymore. Like ACC Network, SEC Network, all those kind of things. Those are cool. So yes, I was stressed, but we have pulled off some games. And some of it comes down to, it's like anything else, like the pressure gets on you and it comes down to, hey, I have this date. My arena's open this date. There's only X number of teams still out there. How do I fill it? And that's where a couple of these teams, like, we just kind of beat them down. We're just persistent. If you would see the call log that Coach Blaylock on my staff keeps, you'd be amazed at what that was. But no, it's wild scheduling. And the only thing with less integrity than recruiting in college basketball is scheduling.
Really?
That's one of the few times that I close my door in my office because I got to tell people, hey, we're going to stink this year. Yeah, just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding, but like in all seriousness, like we're all poor mouthing our teams. We're trying to figure out reasons to get teams and regional games. I mean, try and stay away from flights, or if you're taking a flight, go to Hawaii, go to California, go to Florida, those kind of things. But I do like our schedule right now. We're going to be releasing it, I think, if I get approval next week. Now you guys did sneak preview, most of them, but we'll actually put it together, put it on our website, and there's 2 or 3. Do you know the Big Ten team we're playing yet?
The list I have has 2 Big Ten teams. So I don't know.
Okay.
I know Michigan.
I was trying to trick you. I was only given 1, and both. Okay. So
I know. I know Michigan but it's also on Michigan's website already.
Yeah.
So that's I'll tell you one game we are really excited about is Southern Indiana. I think that's happening. We talked to a Southern Indiana player last week, actually.
Okay.
We talked to John, but I think that was before the game was scheduled, or at least we didn't talk about schedule with him. But we talked to one of their seniors a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about it because you guys played them last year down there.
We did.
And
so
then
they played a tournament 2 years ago, and then we returned the game to them, and then they're coming back. And Coach Gerard coached Ryan Sims on my staff.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
So back and Ryan's been with me for 14 years. And so, there's a relationship there. I don't like to play friends. He does a great job. It just worked out in our tournament the way we scheduled it, and we got home and home, and that turned out to be a really good game down there last year. Iconic, actually. First ever. Can you guys tell me what the first ever was?
Yes, I can, and I think it'll be the last, right? It is the shoe block.
So we're getting that on your wall. So I see that Fort Wayne jersey in the back, Jaren. All right, we're getting you a picture, a Rasheed Bello autographed shoe block.
All right. Incredible.
It was. And so, all right, we'll tell the story about the shoe block. Man, I wish I knew how to share screens. I'd pull it up. I don't have it in my home office right here, but I got it on my on my desktop. So the story is so he has, due to his ankle braces, and he's got custom insoles, all that stuff, like his shoes will fall off periodically. Okay. And I just keep going, man, come on, tie him a lot tighter, whatever. Right. So, but I tell him, like, I've had sit downs with him. I'm like, Rasheed, when your shoe falls off, just sit down. I don't care if we give up 2 points. I don't care. Like, we are not going to lose the best point guard in the league to a broken foot. Somebody steps on it, you slip.
Right.
Like, now, if we're in the conference tournament, like, we'll revisit this. Until that moment, like, you, for the course of the season, like, you're more important than that. So, of course, this happens. Like, the 4th time his shoe falls off. And we weren't playing great at the time. And we find ourselves down, and we've been playing really good basketball up to that point. And his shoe falls off. Well, he picks it up because I've told him, pick it up, sit down, put it on. He keeps playing. So the player does a step back move. And it's not like he tried to block it with a shoe. It's the hand, the upward hand that we teach to challenge a shot. And in our program, if you don't challenge a shot in practice, we stop practice. Doesn't matter. Offense, you get on the line. Because we call it an 11%. There's an 11% difference in college basketball between a challenge and an unchallenged shot. So, like, why wouldn't you challenge it? Put your hand up. 11% difference. So we train that. Well, of course, what he does, 11% with the ball, with the shoe up in the air. Okay. And sure enough, he blocks the shot with it. All right. So referees actually, like, they called it right. They did not blow the whistle. It was, it's his equipment. It's attached to him.
Yeah.
Don't blow the whistle. It plays out. I'm thinking it's a tech too, because I don't know.
Right.
Now, had he thrown it at it, it would have been a tech.
Yeah.
Okay. It would have been funny if they had called it a kickball.
Yeah. You're right. Right. Yeah. Intentional kick. That would be funny. So he blocks it. We go down, and, like, So that their photographer gets a great picture of it too, which is awesome picture. We actually sold it, or he sold it autographed on Don's for Fort Wayne collective. So anyway, this is even the cooler part of the story. So they block it, and obviously it blows up all over social media. The referees come back the next day, they address it and say, okay, like this was not in the rules. It was not a violation, but from this point forward, equipment has to be worn as it is
intended to be worn,
to be okay. So like you can't take your headband off and hit it, whatever. So I get back and Evansville is a good distance from us, and get into the office next morning, and I got 2 donors that are blowing up my cell phone. And I'm like, man, what's going on? I answer it, and they're like, we want to buy the shoe. Like, that's the only shoe. We want that shoe for our offices in a box. And so I call Rashid, and I said, hey man, do you mind? He's like, shoot, hey, little NIL money out of a shoe sale. Like, we'll do that thing. So the collective bought the shoe. He autographs it, buys it, and it goes in, win-win with that stuff. And we built another super fan. He's got Rashid's shoe.
That's awesome. And now he's got that story for all time.
Yep. And I wrote up a story about it too, like talked about the shoe, but then I'm like, all right, man, I got a chance to sell the other one. So what I did is I wrote up my story about the story of the shoe. And I said, even though the one that got all the accolades, the one that blocked the shot, this other shoe is the assist shoe.
Right.
It's the shoe that, like, behind the scenes really planted, let him elevate.
Needs the traction.
Now this is more. And so I got another donor to buy that shoe. I built it up. I sold that shoe for more. All right. Because they're like, I built up. It's my PR side of me that this shoe is even better.
That's incredible.
Awesome.
Now I do have a shoe in my office. You guys will love this one too. So Shuey, we have a fan, student fan. He's over 21, so I can tell this story. He drinks beer at the Coliseum out of his Under Armour shoe, team shoe. And then he donated it to me at the end of the year.
That's awesome.
So I put a little bit of spray in it, put it in a box.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I got Shuey's shoe in my office too.
That's incredible.
You never know what's going to come out. You let Coach Coffman loose.
I remember seeing that block, and it was incredible. But then, when you see it on Twitter and hear it from you, it's obviously everybody loves it. But then when we had Coach Sprue on from USI, he was, feels the exact opposite. He's like, that shouldn't have been allowed. Which, I'm sure if it had happened against you, you feel differently. But it is an iconic moment, probably the best shoe-related thing I've ever seen on a basketball court.
No doubt.
But so you guys went through a name change, when the Indiana dropped off and you guys just became PFW. You were Fort Wayne, went by Fort Wayne. I think before that went into place. I don't know. Maybe you can get into why.
Fort Wayne school, and we had just Fort Wayne across. We still were IPFW, but we branded through our university or our athletic department. Fort Wayne, like many mid majors have done that are affiliated with the land grant university and say. But yeah, we've gone through a little bit of change in my time.
So IU Indy is going through a similar change this year. So I've kind of 2 questions. One, what's it like going through that change? Obviously you said something about Jon Coffman's been at 3 schools in the last 10 years, but it's been the same school, different names. So what's it like going through a change like that as an athletic department and basketball team? And then since they dropped the Purdue and you dropped the IU, does that make the rivalry more intense or less intense?
Well, I'm not going to give any leads out to a school in our league, particularly, Coach Cassar is one of my former assistants. So I'm not giving any leads. Like he's got to figure that out on his own. I mean, in all honesty, like our universities, we're young universities, just like the MAC, and my wife went to Toledo, and you got Kent State, and you got Miami of Ohio. Like, they have their mid-sized public schools all, have their own names and whatnots in the public school system. In Indiana, it was a unique idea. They had, Purdue and Fort Wayne, at I think it's 7 or 8 different campuses across the state. Evansville actually used to be one as well. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not
Now
know
they
that.
went independent
So. Yeah.
in their time. So it's just the growth of our public school system in our state. And for us, a sad day, because obviously the IU degree is really powerful, and you get to sell 2 great universities. And we still have a lot of alums that are affiliate with their IU degrees. We still keep a little bit of that hint of blue in our organization to represent the old Don days before we turned to black and gold. We still have that 10% of blue to kind of represent those days back when we were IPFW. But Purdue has been phenomenal to us as we've become Purdue Fort Wayne, and you no longer have 2 rival universities butting heads and bureaucracy as you administrate what we're doing. And so it's given us a lot of growth in the last, 5 or 6 years with where you're at. But, again, just like I talked about, like nothing happens quick enough for any of us. So, I'd love for the transition to be even quicker. I'm sure there's some disappointed Indiana people, that their university has left in Fort Wayne. We're a really strong alumni base of Indiana in our city. But hey, we're Fort Wayne's team. That's who we are. And yes, we appreciate and obviously, our affiliate with Purdue and the Purdue degree. I mean, it's top 10 public school in the country. I think it was number 27 overall university, and it's a global top 100. That degree you get from our university is really, really powerful. And you look at our roster, I mean, we've sold that. We got guys from all over the country because they walk away with a Purdue degree. It's really a unique and awesome thing that we have. And good thing we play really fast and shoot a lot of threes and have a sexy style of basketball. That's where we built our brand from that side. So we are Fort Wayne. We're not Boilermakers, but we appreciate what they've done. And obviously Matt has a great program, but we're really proud of what we built in Fort Wayne.
That's awesome. And I guess talking about what you built, thinking about, the recruitment aspect, what was your staff's focus this offseason? You picked up a couple transfers and then I believe 2 freshmen.
We do. So we have a walk-on scholarship freshman and then a junior college transfer who has 3 years left. Nobody else knew he was eligible to come out. That was a good win on my staff.
Nice.
Having a former Texas JUCO guy on your staff. And then 2 transfers. And so we need to add some size. I mean, I got sick of saying we're the, 3rd smallest team in the country last year. Got old, wore out. And we brought in some size and skill with that rebounding rate. I mean, Anthony Roberts was a great rebounder. We lost him to graduation. And then trying to just get those guys acclimated. But also at the same time, not having that older group, like taking that next step forward, not having them bored with the process. So we'd split a lot, then we'd come together, did a lot more live than maybe I would have 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I wanted them to be engaged with that. I've been really, big on the process of teaching and evolving how you teach and breakdown leading up to when we put it all on the court. But researching, how to teach, like I've really been into, you want to throw a big picture at them in the midst of it. So it can't just be dominating and perfecting breakdown, and then you go to live play. And I used to be a little bit more like that when I was a young head coach. And so what I've gotten to a little bit more is like going, just throwing it. They don't know how we operate and everything, and going live and letting them figure it out and then evolving. And so big picture breakdown, big picture breakdown, big picture breakdown. And so that was a big part of what we did on the basketball court. We're also identifying, doing some different some different things. We have some fives that have evolved from being able to shoot the basketball to stretch us out, 5 guys that can shoot it, to also, watching Eric Mulder really evolve as a player who last year, late in the year, we're calling play action to get him the ball in the post. And he was second in the country in offensive efficiency last year, field goal percentage, effective field goal percentage. Like, it's awesome. So, but we didn't throw it to him a lot early on. First year starting, huge growth, leading offensive rebounder in our league, great hands, can touch the top of the backboard, can run like a deer. He was a first team all-league. All-state in football. Ran back punts in high school. And
Really?
Wow.
He's going to be like, this is a big step.
How do you tackle a guy that size?
Man's Antonio Gates,
Yeah.
So anyway, he's going to get some back to the basket stuff. I'm watching these guys evolve. And then our guys it always happens. Our guys, particularly our point guards who are ball heavy point guards like Rasheed Bello, they get better in year 2. Mm-hmm. Jalen Jackson gets better in year 2 because our read and react and the pace of decision making, like they quarterback. After a made basket, I do not call a set. They play what we call quick, which is a series of spacing, flips to ball screens that they determine what the action is going to be depending on where they pass it, where they dribble. And it is best when it happens with speed. And so you got to, it can't be a think about, it's got to be a react. And he got better as the year went on. I expect him to have a monster year this year with that. So that was kind of our focus.
Yeah, you brought up someone we like to bring up a lot on this show, and that is Eric Mulder. We, every time we watch him, we're like, he, didn't score a lot, didn't score a ton last year, but that didn't matter. He was out there jumping as high as he possibly could to get every single rebound. Didn't get them all, but got a lot of them. And we were just like, he's got to be the hardest working man in America. Like, there's no doubt.
So I'll watch commercials all the time, because my mind is thinking, all right, how do I place my NIL stuff? My mind's always working. I saw an F-150 commercial the other day. I'm like, God, man, when's somebody going to jump on board and give that guy an F-150? Like, that's who he is. Like, he's a workhorse,
Yeah.
Like, hey, that dude, like, he could re-roof my house tomorrow. Like, he went home in May and, like, put on strength, like, worked out, but then, like, he's got pictures where he caught like 75 fish. What? He went like bow fishing for carp underneath the waterfall. He's taking his bow hunting there, and then he like, for fun, was working on some groundwork with digging ditches to put some in Iowa. Like, I don't know, like, he likes manual labor type stuff. Like, it's cool. We were at Boys and Girls Club last week, and he was working with the kids, and the guy who runs their business program said, hey man, you like, I heard about you. Let's go over here to our business development building. And it's not just like they have welding over there, teaching young kids how to weld. They're teaching them, like, got this simulator driving like trucks and bulldozers and all that stuff. And Eric, like, he's in heaven over there. He's like, hey coach, next year, this is where I want to do my community service in here. This is cool stuff. Yeah, he's a pretty special young man.
So he works that hard in practice, day in and day out.
Hey, now it's coming. All right. He has been working since freshman year. And I do this with every big, but, like, I see it with him. He's going to be shooting the 3 in his career.
That'd be awesome.
Like, he's working hard at it. And that's not all of his time, but, like, we're working on developing his game, helping our offense. That's where a 5-man who can do that. I think the evolution will be able to play. I think he'll be able to, eventually defend, if not this year, next year, like, defend 4s on the perimeter, play 2 bigs, do some stuff like that. You just got to be able to shoot it to be able to play on the perimeter for us.
Yeah, that makes sense.
4 guys. Yep.
That makes sense.
Is that a scoop? Eric Mulder's working on his 3-point shot. Going to start stretching the floor.
Yeah, I mean, he hey, so and then now now Chandler Cuthrell, he's a newcomer. He's been awesome. He can really shoot it too.
Mm-hmm.
And we recruited him as a 4, but we're going to be able to play some small ball with him. He's just so physical.
Yeah.
He's super physical. I mean, he's a 1-year guy, first 1-year guy I've ever had in our program.
Huh.
Wow.
And that's a credit to him. I mean, he had the right family around him, the right build. Like, I've recruited it just thinking about it, but there's never been that right fit because culturally it's not really how we've believed and worked in our program. But I felt like with Anthony leaving, rebounding in one position away from positioning yourself to do what we really want to do in Fort Wayne. And so, found the right guy for that. And we got other guys that can play that spot, but anyway, he's a guy that can really stretch the defense to it. And then D'Angelo Elise, you haven't seen him. He tore up his ankle. He led junior college in block shots 2 years ago.
Wow.
Hasn't played very much for us last year. Just never, got back healthy enough after having ankle surgery right before the season started, and he can really shoot it too. So that is the funnest way, or the most fun. Sorry, I got to figure out my English here. The most fun way to coach the game is if you got 5 guys that can shoot it. It really is hard to guard and fun to coach, and you can get really creative. And so you're going to see that on the floor some this year.
That's awesome. We're excited about that. We have no influence here on this show, limited influence on this show, and I know that the shop down in Indianapolis has the deal with like the Horizon League that they have, like, I don't know, they're a retailer or something for the Horizon League, and I was like, hey, you need an NIL deal with Eric Mulder. Like, you need to get him on, get some hardest working man in America shirts. You need to make it happen. Didn't hear anything back, but we're a small operation.
He does. He really works hard. So we'll get you a Mulder jersey in the back autograph. You had him on last year, right?
No,
you didn't have him on.
No,
you gotta get Mulder on.
Well, if you can hook us up with Mulder, we'll get him on here.
Hey, and then we'll put on Jalen Jackson, the happiest guy in America. That guy, since he got back to Fort Wayne, his hometown, I mean, he hasn't stopped smiling. And that's why he was a 50-40 guy last year, man. Yeah. He's so happy playing the game, fits with us so well. Like, he's so happy. We got some good ones in Fort Wayne, some good personalities, represent our city really, really well.
Yeah, we love that. So really, our last question, not really a question, kind of, you alluded to it a little bit, but we're really high on your team this year. We love what you have. We love all the talent you're bringing back, everything you do in the off season, right, to build it into the season. We love that. So we're really positive about how this coming season is going to go for y'all. And I know we talked about it a little bit. Bart Torvik, an analytics site, has you at 145th in Division I. That's the 5th in the state of all the schools. They've got you at the top of the Horizon League. I know you don't like talking about that too much because you want to play on the court to do the talking. But what can fans expect from the Dons this year? You talked about it a little bit, throughout, but kind of what is your the main takeaway that you want fans to expect?
Well, I mean, consistency is who we've been in Fort Wayne. In terms of mid majors. I mean, we're the winningest mid-major program in the state of Indiana over the last decade, and we're top 10 if you look at the Midwest teams in the MAC, Missouri Valley, Summit, and Horizon in terms of wins over the last decade. I mean, we've been doing this consistent with generation after generation. That's really helped our recruiting, because when I sit down today, I had a Zoom with a player and. I'm not telling them a story about when I was an assistant at Butler or Indiana or Purdue. I'm telling them a story about what I've done with our resources in Fort Wayne. And they're up on our wall right here, all league, one of the 24 pros. And I'm giving them comps. I mean, everybody in the NBA talks about comps, where you're comfortable. I got comps in our program. We've been consistent with how we play the game. We play fast. We really share the ball, pass the ball, and we shoot the three, which gives us space. We build off of that. And so, our paint touch motion, our read and react stuff. We tweak everything depending on personnel, but there's been that consistency. And so I want to be consistent with how I manage the ups and downs of a college basketball season. I think that positions you to manage adversity, but consistent on the court and continue to just hunt getting better today than we were yesterday. We're very process driven here. So, I mean, obviously I don't have to sit there in the locker and be like, hey, championship. Like these guys know. I mean, that's who we are. We got 7 postseason appearances in our program. I mean, we're only one team in the Horizons, one more games than us. I mean, we recruit guys. We talk about winning. That gives credibility to your stats when you want to play pro ball, all that sort of stuff. But what we talk about is how you operate every single day. And that's where, putting in a daily resume. And when you put in that daily resume, that's how you build confidence. And that confidence is what gives you courage. And so that's a big part of what we do, that process. And we want to attack everything we do, from our academic side to what we do in the community service, to our basketball stuff. And so we got a bunch of gym rats. And so that's our focus. Like, let's enjoy the process together. Let's keep attacking it. Let's manage adversity. And let's have some fun, and let's embrace the city. And the rest of it's going to it's going to play out. And it plays out well if you don't get obsessed with just outcome. You can't be obsessed with outcome. Right. Outcomes are going to happen with what you do every single day. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to continue to say. So, the media, you guys, I love that you're pumped up and you're fired up about the Dons. Now you two, like, hey, we can win 6 games this year. You guys still be fired up because you like the Twitter and our ballroom dancing. No, I mean, we're investing in young men. We're hoping to build generational leaders. I mean, that stuff's all cool. I think it helps us win games, but we're going to continue to focus in on that process. And through adversity, we're going to attack that, and it's going to have, we talk all about what is your relationship with failure. That's really important. You gotta have a great relationship with failure, because the only way you're going to grow is that you got to fail. You got to push yourself to fail. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's what summer's about too. We try to do some weird stuff to get our guys uncomfortable. With some of that, and that's where our guys understand we're investing in just putting smiles on faces, because you do things a lot better if you got joy in your job. That's why I'm no longer working in finance. That's why I haven't worked a day in my life the last 26 years. I'm just coaching basketball and working with young people.
Well, we're glad you made the switch to finance, or from finance to coaching, because we are very happy to have you representing Fort Wayne and doing it so well. And, winning a lot helps too. So we like that we can talk about such an awesome staff, that you've assembled an awesome team and an awesome coach in yourself.
5th in the state, though. Sorry, man. I gotta let that go. Like
that's an analytics thing.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's why we all believe in the analytics.
Hey, never. we will always maintain our very first rankings. We didn't do a preseason ranking. We forgot, but after our week 1 rankings, we had, I think, you guys at number 2 in the state.
No, you did. Our net was crazy high. Our first net from our non-league. I think we're like 58 or 68 or something like that. We end up through the year. We end up, I think, 151, 152, something like that. So that's no man's land scheduling. No man's land.
Sure.
You want to be quad 4 or quad 1. People play quad 1s because they get quad 1 wins. Quad 4, they'll play quad 4s, beat you by 30, and that helps their analytics.
Yeah.
We're a quad 2 if you come to our place, and a quad 3 at home. No man's land. So I'm lucky we finished our schedule.
Well, our rankings are more who you've played and beaten, and the eye test. So if you guys get some, if you go out and beat some Big Ten teams, we'll have you high up there for sure.
Jaren already said I'm not sexy, so I'm not going to pass it.
No. I made it very clear. Those were your words, not mine.
You'll never hear those words come out of my mouth.
I listened closely. That can be clipped up. And trust me, my son is going to clip it up when this goes live. He's going to clip it up and he's going to keep repeating. It's going to be, is it GIF or GIF or is that what you say? GIF? GIF?
GIF.
GIF. All right. See, I'm not cool. See, I'm not sexy nor am I cool. All right. So a GIF. He's going to have that. He's going to be putting out on Instagram. Coach Coffman is not cool. Over and over again, Jaren, if you want it.
See, Jaren, you slipped up.
Yeah,
No,
I should have known. Should have known.
No, my wife always talks about it. Life's a math equation with how good looking you are, all right, and how you treat her. All right.
Mhm.
And she keeps talking about, man, you really haven't aged very well, Jon. So like I expect a lot better with how you're treating me now. You're not very sexy anymore. So the math equation is going in the other direction for me.
That's funny.
That is what being married is all about. Oh, well, Coach, we are excited about this upcoming season. I hope you're enjoying your time off with everybody, before classes start up and they come back and I'm sure hit it hard. And what is it, October when you guys get them full time?
Man, that was like 2005. We get them. So September 23rd is first day of practice for us.
Oh
Now.
my
42
gosh.
days before the opener. So November 2nd will be the opener. And then you get 42 days. So September 23rd. And then we get hours as soon as they step back on campus. And we had 8 weeks of summer, and you're allowed 4 hours of basketball every week. But then, what they do with your GAs, what they do as strength coach, there's just different ways to really fill up your summer.
Yeah.
We got gym rats. I mean, they're in there all the time working on their game and playing pickup and doing skill work with GA. It's awesome what they've allowed us to do. It's a lot. It's a lot. So you better have guys you like in your locker room,
right?
Or it can be a long year because there is. I mean, what college basketball is doing now, and then the extra time you're out as you're fundraising NIL and selling that story. I had 28 meetings right after March before June even hit and cranking those up this fall. And our fundraising goes heavy from our casino night to our golf outing, to our tip-off luncheon to, the dinners I'm having talking about what we're doing with Don's Fort Wayne. So it's awesome though. Hey, what is good is I like people. I like to talk, right? You guys know that. It has forced me to get comfortably and uncomfortable, get out even more. I've met more special people in the last year with this sink or swim with NIL than I had probably in the last 5 years. And I'm really active in the community. So I've met really special people. They're giving back to our city, to our program. That's really cool, man. Hey, if you're meeting people and building relationships, like you can feel fulfilled in your job. And so appreciate having you two guys being involved in the program. Cool.
Yeah, we're gonna keep telling the rest of the state, rest of the country about you guys. So thanks for coming on, Coach. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach.
Take care.
Go Dons. Let's get you some more gear in the background.
Yeah. I need a new hat. We got the one, but it's displayed.
I got new killer Ride the Wave hats.
Okay.
You like the Don, the surfing Don?
I like the Don.
All right, we're gonna finish off with another story. All right, so you're gonna love it. So, do you know my Mastodon on the surfboard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, which you guys, you probably got it someplace.
Here, I'll do this.
You got it. All right. So the Don. So I got a new one. It's a little bit smaller Don on a patch, and it's a trucker hat that I'll get to you this year. Then I also got one that looks like a polo. So anyway, story behind that Don is that it's year one. As a head coach, and we were picked to win the league, but different totally. I mean, we had probably the best center in the league come back. We had played in the championship game my last year as an assistant coach. Big Steve's come back second in the country in field goal percentage, but we had lost some really good players too, and Coach Jasic, who's a much better coach than me. So we're coming in and we find ourselves down. We're 1-3 in league play. I'm like, man, this ain't a way to start the year. And we got North Dakota State coming into our place, who we played in the championship game, and they're in first, and we're towards the bottom right now. But it's still young league. But it's my first year. I'm thinking, man, coach, you kind of stink. All right.
Mhm.
So like me as a coach, not our team. All right. So we go into this game, we play lights out. We smoke them like a salmon. Great game. I get into the locker room and I just drop down in a surfing position organically and like, let's ride the wave. Because we just hadn't had that energy. And we didn't have that energy guy, like good players, just not that life of the organization. We graduated that guy.
Mhm.
And so I've been trying to hunt that out. And so it kind of became our mantra, like ride the wave. The wave of energy of the group can carry that of an individual. Had a little Don Quixote, of a Macedon on a surfboard, dream the impossible. You guys, Don Quixote, you take that in English, 10th grade English or anything like that?
Not in
Look at
ours,
it.
but I am
No.
familiar.
You
Yeah,
are
familiar,
All
but
right, good,
yep.
good. All right. So we know a little bit of good literature. Anyway, so that becomes kind of our mantra. I have my work study creates like a logo. I say, hey, do this. He's an art student, creates this logo. I ramp it up. I like a little art. We put this thing. So I got this mask on a surfboard. So we only use it internally. We have it at the bottom of our jersey. They tuck it in. All right. So nobody sees it. It's tucked in. And it's the last thing they do before they go on the floor. They tuck it in. It's like this reminder, hey, ride the wave. Wave energy of a group is, can carry that of an individual. So we have that. Gradually, I start producing T-shirts that only the team gets, and they get for like Christmas. They wear it in the community, so it starts to build a little bit of juice around the community. So I'm like, all right, man, I better license this thing. So I end up going through and I license it. So I got the Don license, all this stuff, and I'm just kind of waiting. And I kind of built it thinking maybe I'll start a foundation at some stage, and this will be kind of our logo for our foundation, or maybe just stay as part of our program. We sell a few T-shirts and stuff like this way, and give back to some of the charities that I like. So those are kind of my visions behind it. Well, it ends up kind of building up, and I do student T-shirts with it. I actually got rocks, and I put the story of Ride the Wave on the back, and I put the logo on the front, and I hit them all over campus. And kids would find them and say, "Oh, here's your lucky T-shirt." Story of the matter. They deliver them back to my office. I get to meet them and hand them a T-shirt. So it's kind of like growing our brand
really
one
cool.
person at a time. So fun, building our wave, right? So then our secretary comes in, and this may be like 2 years ago, and she's all worked up. She's like nervous to tell me something. She's like, "Coach, shows me this website." So the Oakland Athletics had gone on like 18 wins. This is a couple of years ago because they haven't won a lot recently. They've gone on 18 wins, and they have on their scoreboard Ride the Wave. And it has literally our Macedon minus like that, upper edge. So it looks like an elephant. So I guess somewhere in their history, and I think on their jerseys, they may even have an something elephant with them. I went to our baseball coach to ask him. So they had stolen our stuff. On Fanatics, they're selling T-shirts with our Ride the Wave logo. And she's thinking I'm going to get all worked up. And I'm like, imitation is like the biggest, the coolest form of flattery. It's horrible. Like here you got a professional baseball team stealing our licensed logo and putting it out there. I'm like, I'm not worked out. That's cool. Hey, they're all across the country. Like they're building our brand. Let's send them. So I call the lawyer that helped me, and he sits courtside. He helped me do our LC. I'm sorry, our licensing, our what do you call it? Our trademark. Okay. So he says, how aggressive do you want to be with this letter? Do you want me to just, ask them kindly for a cease and desist, or be really, really aggressive? And I said, listen, man, Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Indiana, mid-major basketball coach, they're not going to respect. We got one shot at this thing. And if they don't do anything, I'm just going to post it on social media. And I want to act tough with my letter. So I said, let's go all out. I want an aggressive letter, and I want to demand cease and desist, or they can purchase rights for our Ride the Wave logo for lifetime Dippin' Dots at their stadium. That's what I requested. Well, I did not get the lifelong. I'm really upset. They didn't respond because I think their lawyers probably said, hey, don't respond, or they may have other ability to take money from us. But they did take it down off the scoreboard, and they stopped selling the T-shirts. But
that's some pull.
I did. Oh, I thought you said that's bull. I know
No,
it's
that's
bull.
that's
I
that's
didn't
some
get
pull
white
you have there.
Dippin' Dots.
That's true. Yes,
That would have been great. I would have been sending you guys some Dippin' Dots.
having a Dippin' Dots card. Yeah,
Cool.
that's
Cool.
awesome.
Well, guys, thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much,
Be
Yeah.
careful
Coach.
what you say. It's going to lead me into another story. Be on here. I don't know if you saw it. If you saw some of the shadows in the background, that was my kid saying goodnight to me.
Oh,
As I went in, they got football practice and golf lessons early in the morning. So,
okay.
Coffmans are doing awesome.
Awesome.
Been a cool summer. So, did you guys know my wife's coaching at Purdue Fort Wayne now?
That's awesome.
She
didn't
joined the
realize that,
Dons last year, so softball staff. Pretty cool. First time since our days back at Stetson Hatters that we've had the two Coffmans coaching at the same school. So pretty cool.
So
That's awesome.
I'm sure that's a lot of fun. You guys can carpool to work now.
Yep. I love it. Cool.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Coach.
All right. I expect to text you guys coming to practice this year. Practices are open 1 to 3:30 is our time slot. See you soon.
All
All
right.
right. See you,
Thank
Coach.
you.
Take care.
Man, I love Coach Coffman, right? I mean, every
How
time
can you
we've
not?
interacted with him on whether it's social media, we talked about it at the beginning, kind of our intro to him. He's been a fan since day one. Big advocate for us on social media. He welcomed us into practice last season after we had put out like 2 or 3 episodes.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Hey, come to practice." We went to practice. He gave us several jerseys. I know we did an unboxing, not really an unboxing, but a reveal of all the stuff they gave us on one of our earlier episodes.
Mhm.
I mean, we've got a jersey right there prominently displayed. There's
You had
usually
the
a hat
hat.
tucked in. I showed that earlier, but it's the Ride the Wave Mastodon hat. He I showed that while he was talking about it. But it's just hearing his stories, man. It's incredible.
He just, college coaches just have so many stories, and never would have expected him to be out there in San Francisco and then head to Alaska for months. 6 months severance. I mean, that's the dream, right? If you're gonna get let
That's
go, you get a 6 months. He said he was 24.
Yeah. Sucks.
You couldn't even
But at
get a
the same time,
6 month
like,
severance now. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's he made the most of it, and his entire coaching journey was riddled with incredible coaches that he got to coach under and coach with, and then he ended up, at IPFW at the time, and now Purdue Fort Wayne, and he talked about it so much, but he's just a great advocate for the city of Fort Wayne. He needs a statue.
Yeah.
I'm calling it now.
Put
Give him a
him next
statue.
to the Don on
Which
campus.
one? There's on campus, because there's
Yeah.
like 12 Dons around the city.
Yeah. I need to rock more PFW stuff. I think the only apparel I actually have, because he gave us some stuff last year, like the jersey and stuff. I think the only apparel I have is that quarter zip that I got secondhand at a thrift shop.
Yeah. I don't have any other than
The stuff.
the jersey he gave.
Yeah.
It
He said he
big.
maybe could hook us up with a hat, which would be sweet. You know what I should have said, Jaren? I fumbled it. I fumbled it. You know what I should have said?
What?
Those slick gray quarter zips, the Under Armour ones. Those things are clean.
Those are fire.
That would be.
Beggars can't be choosers, though.
I know. I'm just glad to be invited.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anything else?
So we are going to be not live next week, but next week, probably our biggest shift. Well, no, not true. Not our biggest shift, because our biggest shift in topics might have been last week talking about the Olympics.
Yeah.
That is as far from Indiana college basketball as as we have probably gone. But next week we're going to be doing a collab. We're going to be having Cody from Smash Hit Sports. If you pay attention to college football, you've probably seen him out there. So we're going to be talking about the Indiana teams. I guess, luckily there's not 11, so we don't have to talk about all 11 schools, but that are really talking about some college football stuff. He's got a great college football betting guide out there if you're into college football betting. So we'll talk about that next week with him. So we're excited to have him on, and yeah, we'll see you for football talk, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, the clock is showing quadruple zeros. It's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in with the State of Basketball podcast. See you next week. And remember, in 49 states,
It's just basketball.